Welcome to another episode of Behind the Business presented by Gore Mutual. I'm your host, Ian McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. This podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. Each week I sit down for candid conversations where we go beyond the boardroom and behind the business to uncover the real stories of Waterloo Region's business community. Today's guest is Abby Cooper, founder of H.O.P.E, Hearts Open for Everyone. Abby shares her journey from Sri Lanka to Elmira, what inspired her to launch H.O.P.E, and how mindfulness, leadership, and community building all come together in her work. We talk about the impact of events like the Multicultural Festival of Elmira, the importance of partnerships, and her vision for the future of inclusion in Waterloo Region. Join me in this episode as we go behind the business with Abby Cooper of Hearts Open for Everyone. So Abby, let's start at the beginning. Can you share a bit of your journey arriving here from Sri Lanka as a child? You grew up in Toronto, and what ultimately brought you to Waterloo Region and in particular Elmira?
Well, from Toronto, what was great about that was that it was a very diverse place, and I got a chance to be exposed to that. And not a lot of people get that, I realize, after the fact of coming to the rural area of Elmira. But yeah, so coming from Sri Lanka, I was born there, and it was during the war. So, our house was burned down. A lot of our valuable items were gone. So when we came to Canada, it was literally my parents just trying to find a better place for their kids. My dad was a lawyer in Sri Lanka, but then when he came here, he had to start off as being, a dishwasher, but that even took a few years to find as an immigrant. And, just seeing those struggles and learning about those struggles and understanding how, intergenerational trauma can happen. I see how that can be reflected in the life that I've been through and all the things that I've experienced and how I've seen that through my eyes, through my parents' eyes. Mm-hmm. So, and all the things that they've endured and how resilient they've been throughout. He eventually ended up, going to school and working for the government, not quite a lawyer, but, his dream was for his kids to take on that dream that he couldn't be, but it's okay. And they ultimately, at the end of the day, wanted to make sure that we were safe. And a lot of the things that I grew up experiencing was, pretty challenging with all of the racism and discrimination and feeling like you don't belong. Mm-hmm. In Toronto, you don't see that much of it, but there are, bits and pieces where that tends to happen in my life. And even kind of moving to Cambridge, that was our first time getting into the Waterloo region. I was commuting to Toronto, and I worked in Bay Street at that time. So just kind of commuting 2 hours each way was challenging. So I tried, while doing that, trying to find work in the region. But I was faced with a lot of racism, and it was uncomfortable and really interesting to experience that, and realize that, okay, maybe, it just made me feel even more isolated in a town that I didn't feel like I belonged in. But then eventually we moved to, we had to find a place to find a better school for my son. So that's what it came down to, finding a place that had a good school. So after much research and, talking to community members in Elmira and really learning about the community, but also how friendly they were. Is community a big thing here? Do people talk to one another? Do people feel like they belong? And those are things that I was looking for. At the back of my mind, I also knew, okay, this is a predominantly white neighborhood or a community, and there are a lot of Mennonites here. Is my son going to feel like he fits in? So that was also a concern for me as well. But I just, at the end of the day, if people are kind and open and willing to learn, then maybe it'll be okay. So we took the chance, and honestly, people have been so wonderful. We came during the pandemic, and funny enough, we spoke to the most amount of people during that time. We were just out and about, and I think just needing that human interaction was so important. But it also allowed me to connect with the downtown Elmira BIA. So then I became the non-voting member there, and I really wanted to do something for the community and be part of the community. So that sort of
So you
got
founded
into
Hearts Open for Everyone, or HOPE for
Yeah.
short. What was the defining moment, or what led to you creating HOPE?
Yeah. So I guess what led me there was starting off learning about the community and really understanding, hearing business owners and community members' thoughts and feelings towards everything in Elmira, and all the challenges that people face. And really just being open. I spent a lot of time and reflection on myself, lots of self-help books, lots of just learning and digging deep in myself and improving myself. And that's sort of how that opened up my mind to sort of see what else is out there. And for the longest time, I really wanted to bring community together, but I just didn't know how. And then somehow out of nowhere, it just came into place. It all just kind of connected. And I just was hearing stories of from racialized people in the community. And I thought, why are people, there's a sense of chameleonism that's happening where people are having to blend in and take away all of their identity just to belong and fit in. And I just didn't feel like that was right. And whether that's through community or just you as a person, people should feel like they can be their true selves. So that's sort of where that came from. And I had also been doing a lot of meditation and all of that. So that's sort of, I think that leads you to here.
So you had a career in marketing. So you were Bay Street. You worked downtown Toronto. You facilitated workshops in like a corporate setting. I mean, was that helpful in terms of that background? Helpful in influencing the way that you try to do community building now?
Yes, it does a lot, because I learned a lot about, in marketing especially, at the end of the day, you're thinking about the end user. What are they feeling? What are their emotions? And I always look at it from the psychological aspect of it. And I'm always trying to understand what their true feelings are and connecting everything that I do to that. So that's been sort of my goal through this work. And, I ended up starting up my own digital marketing business. And even through that work, I learned a lot as well, but what I'm bringing to that is that like organization, event management, leadership skills and all of that. But really I'm just putting my whole heart into this. And I think that's mainly what's helping in growing this organization.
Well, you got to be passionate about whatever you're doing, whether it's business or a new organization like HOPE. Your organization is dedicated to fostering inclusivity. And so, how do you balance like that's a lot to bear as an emotional job of advocating for folks that may need more help in feeling more included in our community. But you're still day to day, you're running an organization. You still got the business side of it as well as the emotional side. How do you kind of balance those things?
Well, I feel like that mindfulness aspect is so important because with this work, it can get heavy. Like there's a lot of emotional stories. People bring their troubles, their challenges to some of the workshops. You hear some really sad stories and you really just want to reach out and help them. And I think that part of me is just constantly like, how do I help this person? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I think that what makes this work even easier is that my team is awesome. Like, I don't know how I was gifted with such amazing people, but they all brought their heart and soul into it, and they all each bring their individual expertise. So I don't have to carry all that weight on my own. I have a team to work with and share these ideas with, and share these experiences that people are sharing with us. How do we work together to make this a much more welcoming and inclusive place together? So, yeah.
So you launched in 2023, Hope. And you could still say it's in its startup phase, right? You're in the first couple of innings of a baseball. Pick your analogy, but you're in the first period, whatever the analogy is. So how do you define and measure success, right? Like, is it individual? Is it like, do you have goals of how many people you want to help, or is it getting your arms around the size of the problem that exists? Like, what are the things that you'll measure to in your own mind feel like it's a success?
So again, this is me bringing my marketing background in there, because all I do is measure things, and I can't see success if I'm not seeing numbers. So we've always made sure to collect feedback after every program, after every workshop and event. We're always trying to improve. We have to come into something knowing that, leave your ego out at the door. We want you to be your true self. And, we really need to come in knowing that we just want to learn. We just want to make sure that everyone is happy. And so we're always trying to improve and work together to figure out something that fits perfectly for our community. So, we get lots of positive feedback. I see the things that people say, and just how people are interacting with each other. And it's so lovely to have someone come up to me after workshop and say, you know what, this is something we really needed. And I'm so grateful that you brought this here. And so these small comments mean so much to me. And it just keeps reminding me that we are doing something that was definitely needed.
The Behind the Business podcast is made possible through the support of our title sponsor, Gore Mutual. Proudly Canadian, Gore Mutual has stayed true to one purpose for more than 185 years: insurance that does good. It's the reason they exist. They believe that when we focus on being good, doing good, and spreading good, we all thrive together. We're grateful for their continued commitment to our local communities and the positive impact they make every day. For more information, visit goremutual.ca. You've woven the mindfulness, and you've talked about this, or mentioned this a couple of times, into your DEI work. So describe how the mindfulness shaped not just the programming, but also your leadership style. I would think that it's sort of the two are, one side of the coin, or two sides of the coin. How, in terms of bringing your DEI work, the mindfulness into that programming, how has that been sort of accepted, or how has it been received, I guess, by the community?
Well, a lot, all our members are community members.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to see that our team continues to grow. I must be doing something right if people just want to keep joining our group. But I honestly, I feel like a lot of how I lead is just listening and hearing everyone's story. And my number one thing is, what will make this a valuable experience for you? You're putting time into this out of your day. You're volunteering, or you're a paid volunteer. What can make this very valuable to you, so you're not leaving the end of the day thinking, can't wait for this to be over. So I gather that kind of those insights, and I try to build on something specifically for each person, so that I know that they're taking away something that's valuable and meaningful to them. And so that aspect of mindfulness is also just always staying in the present, and always being in that moment and appreciating each moment with that I have with each of my team members. They're all wonderful people, but also even the experiences we share together at the workshops and events. You could see it in their faces and in the things that they say to each other and to me, how much value that they're getting out of this. So that to me is something that's worth everything, really.
Now, I think our region is pretty blessed to have some pretty, really exceptional, incredible local businesses, but also thought leaders and those that are community activists as well, who make a difference. So in your, as I think about that, in your experience, what's the most effective way for business leaders to partner with, community groups like yours, with government and grassroots, charities or organizations to make a meaningful impact? Like, business has a role to play. They can't do the day to day, but how do they support? Is, obviously financial is one, but are there other ways that business and individuals can support the work that you and others are doing?
I think it's important for that conversation to continue on rather than it just to be like, hey, here's some money. But no, like, we want to see that you're actually following the same kind of values that we do. Are you showing that you care about others? Are you showing that compassion and empathy towards the real challenges that are coming into place for various different communities that exist in Waterloo Region? And one of the things is, like, immigrants that come here with degrees, I'm hearing it's still happening now. Nothing's really changed.
It's a tremendous shame that whether it's in healthcare or engineering, there's lots where there's a lot more that needs to be done for foreign credentials to be recognized.
Yeah. And it's just really just learning from others that are really, the grassroots organizations that are down there doing the work, and really gaining that understanding of how you can better your organization from the inside, whether that's, updating your system, the systems that are in place, having accountability, developing better processes and updating your policies, things like that would really work towards improving the lives of the people that are currently at the business, but also people who may want to look to work at the company, right? So, like, bringing in new expertise, and sometimes even if you think of like resumes, there's so much restriction there, and they're limiting to very few things. And if you don't have XYZ, then you won't fit the bill. But imagine all the amazing people you could bring in if you just opened your eyes to seeing like the value that people bring. And so, and that's includes diverse voices. So,
so one of the things that you've also had a big hand in, and you created, and we've had a great tradition in Kitchener, Waterloo, of having the KW Multicultural Festival. Yeah. You founded the Multicultural Festival of Elmira, and it's now, I think it's third year, and it's coming up. It's coming up actually September 30th at Gibson Park. So beyond the celebration, because that's it obviously is a celebration. What do you think events like that or this event are so important in creating long-term impact in Waterloo Region, like in terms of developing relationships and better understanding between people right across the region?
Well, I feel like it's a really great chance for learning in a very different kind of environment. You're seeing firsthand many different cultures all in one place, but you're not just seeing, you're tasting, you're experiencing, you're fully immersed in that. And that's what we try to do with our festival, in that it's not just something you come and see and then that's it. You're taking away a lot of education, of learning, and maybe like rethinking your biases and your just like your your lived experiences, the things that you thought were true may not be true about a certain culture, or, there's certain things, certain aspects that people take away. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback too, because what we want to know is that people are taking away something really valuable from these from our multicultural festivals. So a lot of people have said, yes, I learned about this culture, I didn't know this culture did this, and I didn't know that culture did this. So those are things that I really love to see, because then it's like, okay, now they'll probably go share that with the next person. And so the idea is that for that to trickle outward and to bring people inward into accepting each one another.
Hope has received, which is always helpful, because financial resources are a big part of getting, especially a new organization off the ground. But you received some funding from the Waterloo Region Community Foundation, from their Racial Equity Fund. And so that's important in terms of, the operations of organizations are really important. But I think beyond that, it's great that the foundation has seen the importance of investing in inclusivity and diversity and the work that you're doing. But why is Waterloo Region, whether it's the people, is it the culture, is it the opportunities that make this the right place for Thrive to achieve, for Hope to thrive and succeed? Is it, is this the right place for it, or is this just where you are and you're gonna it needs to be done? So what makes this the right fit? Your community support? Is it the makeup of the community? Because we're a lot more diverse than we were even 5 years ago. With every passing day, we look a lot more like Toronto than we do, than we did 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So the way I've been looking at it is that in the rural townships, there is this sense of protecting what, I guess, the heritage of the town, right? So in Waterloo, Kitchener, people have access to so many programs and things, whereas in the townships, people need that ease of having similar access, but like not having to go into the city to get it. So that was sort of how I've been looking at this as well. But like, bringing all of these really great speakers to a little small town like Elmira and saying, hey, look at this, we can also offer these kind of programs as well. But what's interesting to me is that we get people that come from Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge. And so that just tells me, is there something missing in the city that people aren't getting there, that they would drive all the way to Elmira to be a part of these experiences. But what I think makes it so much more of a thriving organization is that having that connection to so many businesses in the region. And we've developed so many great partnerships and relationships with so many people. And honestly, people have been really supportive. And I don't think we could get anywhere we couldn't have gotten anywhere without that support. And too, like when you go to these events, like whenever people hold events like WRCF has like little workshops and conferences and things like that. When you go to these things, you have those opportunities to not only learn but also connect with other people, with like-minded individuals. So you're kind of you're getting more of that exposure, and I think that is something that's invaluable when you're in that space. So yeah.
So looking ahead, I mean, it must feel like a whirlwind, right? Starting in 2023, where you are today. What's next for Hearts Open for everyone? What's next for the organization?
So we're growing. So we've just become a registered nonprofit, and now our next goal is to become a registered charity. And so lots of work, still in the process. And we have some great people that are helping us along the way for that, but also like just trying to look for better spaces where we can have these conversations and continue these conversations together. And, eventually I'd love to have my own like Hope space that's open to the community, and a space where people can walk in and feel like they instantly belong there, and they don't have to think twice of like, oops, maybe I should walk out of here because I don't think this is the right place for me. No, like it's going to be a place where you walk in and you know exactly where you belong. You can access anything you like. If there's a room, there's like a mini library or something. So that's like a goal. That's my future goal, is like a community space that would work.
Okay, then, and this, just as we wind up our time together, this whole series is, yes, it's about organizations and the leaders that lead them, or in business or community groups, but it's also about leadership and leadership style and what informs leaders around our community. So I asked the same series of questions to everybody. It's always fascinating because everyone answers them in a different way, and it's how they interpret them. So we'll go through our rapid questions, and I always start with this one. If you could go back with the benefit of not even hindsight, like go back in time, what would you tell your younger self?
I'd say never doubt yourself. Be your true self. One day your light will shine.
That's good advice. We all have things that kind of spur us on or inspire us. What or who are the things that inspire you?
My community inspires me for sure. My team is the community, and honestly, the love, the commitment they put into this work each day, I don't think this could be where it is now without that shared interest in bettering our community in the way that it can be. So.
Well, it's great when you got everyone rowing in the same direction. So your team and the leadership, and that makes a big difference in getting things done. Mm-hmm. If you weren't, so you actually had a previous career. So this is interesting. You were, as you said, corporate world for a time. But if you weren't in your current career, so if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
Definitely something creative and connecting with people. I've kind of like in my life gone through many different things. I've like had like 2 different Etsy shops selling like aprons that I designed, and
really?
And
wow.
Paintings, and then I had a cake business that I started. It was like paint me a cake, so I was painting on cakes. So everything is really creative related. So honestly, it's just I could see it just going in that direction constantly. Just design and creating.
So some read, some watch podcasts. What are you reading, or what are you watching on podcasts?
Okay, so
besides business, of course. But
at the moment, I'm actually reading The Refugee: Narratives of Fugitive Slaves in Canada. Pretty heavy stuff. But I'm currently working on a project with a local organization where it's going to be a mural about the Queensbush settlement. And so as I mentioned, I'm constantly learning. So I'm just always trying to read and understand about the community and how we can do things better. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right. And I always ask this because it's interesting. What is a favorite business locally that is your go-to, whether it's a restaurant or a service or retail? What's one of your go-to places?
I'm really into coffee shops. Caffeine keeps me going. Is that a surprise? But also EB Farms milk helps a lot because I have dairy issues, and EB Farms. I don't know, but Eco Cafe in St. Jacobs and Local Renaissance in Elmira, both really great local cafes that are amazing. And never enough time. So these are all like local organizations that I really love to support.
I'm with you. There's lots of coffee to get through the amount of things to do in your day. So good coffee shops was a good answer. Where do people go and that are listening or for the community to go to connect with you and Hope?
So you can visit us at heartsopenforeveryone.ca. We're also on social media on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and it's at Hearts Open for Everyone.
That's great. Listen, of all of the valuable things that leaders have, time is probably their most precious commodity. So thank you for sharing some of your time with us today and doing the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Business, proudly presented by Gore Mutual, insurance that does good. New episodes drop every Thursday, so be sure to tune in next week. You can also visit greaterkwchamber.com to catch up on past episodes anytime. We'll see you next time as we continue to go Behind the Business.